Hey guys, it's Gameragi. Today we're going to be reading through Gehn's journal that he has here in his little laboratory. This is a very long journal, and it's got a lot of really important information we're going to need for solving puzzles, so this is going to be really important to read. So let's get her started. Okay, February 13th, 1982. The latest ink formulation has proven a failure. Even when writing in my most promising books, I obtain only the barest glimmer of a connection. It is frustrating to expend so much effort creating a blank book, only to end up destroying it when it doesn't work. There are days when the lab is uncomfortably warm from the flames of these failed attempts. The further I refine each element, the formulations of the ink and paper, the physical dimensions of the books, the more I realize that the list of potential combinations is nearly infinite. It is during moments like these that I despair. Without access to Denis, my long-term goals may never be accomplished. Nevertheless, there are avenues of research which remain to be explored. May 8th, 1982. I am discontinuing regular observations of the stars beneath the fissure. Although I've been able to track the dark cloud-like formations that migrate through the star field, and have proven that these paths are cyclical, without proper instrumentation it is pointless to continue. My general theory concerning the nature of the fissure has remained unaltered since it first appeared. It seems that the fabric of this age has been breached in a way that permits matter to be hospitably exchanged between two discrete but overlapping spaces, much like a link. But the apparent physical contradictions surrounding this juncture defy logical reason. The great column of wind that was formed when the fissure first appeared suggests a vacuum as one might expect in space. Yet my early experimentations revealed the presence of a breathable atmosphere. That Atris and Catherine throw themselves into the void is further evidence that it might be safe to travel. But without knowing its true nature, I cannot take the risk myself. It is also difficult to say what would happen if I were to reopen it after so long. But it is likely that the results would be catastrophic, given the changes that have occurred in this age since that time. Maintenance on the steam vent caps completed. February 10th, 1983. I'm extremely pleased with the continued success of this system. I believe the construction to have been true to the Denis designs of my memory. Another example of the superiority of the Denis technology. It's ironic that Atris and Catherine unwittingly provided me with such a convenient source of power. As with many of my views over the years, my thoughts regarding the origin of the fissure have changed. I have recently begun to wonder whether it was actually an unexpected byproduct of the changes Catherine and Atris wrote into this age during their escape. Certainly by casting their linking books into the void, they trapped me here quite effectively, but I do not believe that Atris intended the book to be lost in this manner. Much better to destroy it than to risk the possibility of it falling into unknown hands. Also, had they foreseen the creation of the fissure, they would surely have thought that the vacuum it created would eventually consume the atmosphere of this planet, a fate which Catherine undoubtedly would have deemed unacceptable for her homeworld. If I had not been there to supervise the construction of the seal, this is most certainly what would have happened. For the villagers were far too frightened to even approach the vents without my urging. I hold on to the belief that it was an unintended consequence of their writing for another reason as well. I prefer to think that my son had meant for this age to be merely a prison for me rather than a death sentence. May 14th, 1983. The construction of the images has proceeded without fault. It is interesting to see how easily I've been able to adapt the Denis technology to mimic that of the Amads, I think. In some ways, the similarities between the two cultures was striking. I wonder if perhaps they had begun communication or commerce between the two cultures in earlier times. Maybe Keda's people were even descendants of the Dunni. It pleases me to think so. Note, it's possible that if I were somehow able to supply the books with a power source of sufficient magnitude, I could suppress the variance enough to facilitate a solid link. It is doubtful that the geothermal cap generators could provide such an enormous surge. Perhaps I could adapt the fire marbles. I have been cataloging the natural elements of this age for nearly 30 years now, yet I continue to find evidence of the Dunni's preoccupation with 5. As a boy, it was very clear to me that the number 5 had a special significance to the Dunni society. From the ancient heraldic emblems of the ruling elite to the humble homes of the commoners, it was ubiquitous. Its presence here is obviously a direct reflection of the minds that designed the texts that I used to compose this age. Further proof that through their art, the Dunni masters were indeed creating the marvelous worlds they wrote, and not, as many have mistakenly thought, merely building links to pre-existing worlds. While most of my constructions have been based on Dunni designs, I see now that the ones that I have imbued with the power of 5 are clearly the most beautiful, the most perfect, and, I believe, the most structurally sound. Sure. I'm still attempting to determine how the Dunni color symbology reflects this superior design principle. Although superficially, it is based on a 6-color system, I'm convinced that there has to be a deeper connection to 5. I'll continue to investigate. And it shows some eyeballs. September 11th, 1983. I finally made a breakthrough. I've succeeded in modifying the fire marbles to generate enough power to hold a descriptive linking book in a stable matrix. I've linked to a new world. It is a harsh and desolate age, but is nonetheless well suited for my purposes, and so I have designated it my 233rd. By studying it clearly, I believe I will eventually be able to create a more appropriate age for us to settle on. For now, I will build an office and set up my living quarters there, in order that I may conduct my experiments in safety and without distraction. I must admit that I am proud of my work. To think that in such primitive conditions I have accomplished in 29 years what it took the original Dunni centuries to achieve. Note, repair outerwear for work in this world. The goggles may need to be redesigned altogether. April 13th, 1984. I have begun construction on a series of link sites for each island that will connect Riven with my new office on 233. The Survey Guild has finally completed the site location for each island, according to my exact specifications, and installation of the domes is underway at last. Work on the central power source got off to a bit of a bad start, I'm afraid, but the pace has picked up considerably since then, and I anticipate no further delays. I'm looking forward to finally having a civilized mode of transportation. Due to the rebels' continued disturbances, I've decided to install a coded access system into all of the domes. 3, 11, 15, 19, 24. I think. June 7th, 1985. I caught one of my assistants looking over this journal today. I'm glad I've chosen to write it in a language they cannot decipher. Note, discuss security with each guild master. No problems expected from the maintainers, educators, and surveyors. Question the bookmakers and builders more closely. October 24th, 1986. Today I heard several more reports of spirit sightings by some of the villagers, It seems that under Catherine's leadership, the rebels, or the Black Moiety as the villagers obstinately insist on referring to them, have attained a new level of sophistication in these terror tactics, and have renewed their campaign to intimidate the villagers into joining them, playing upon their shared superstitions. The villagers are certainly susceptible to this form of coercion, especially given of late the rebels' increasing acts of vandalism and theft. January 15th, 1987. The Eat-Tram, traps have been steadily fruitful this year. Apparently the breakup of the islands has not adversely affected the subterranean ecosystems. Unfortunately, I imagine the rebels are experiencing a similarly generous harvest. No shortage of poison for their darts this season. Such morbid issues aside, the sudden availability has allowed me to refine a particularly pleasant extract from my pipe, one that is smoother than any of the others from recent years. March 29th, 1987. Chemical analysis of one of the rebel knives has yielded curious results. Its composition contains elements that are unlike everything I've encountered on the islands. It appears they have access to a resource of which I am unaware. Perhaps a mine or an uncharted island? Note: most of the knives have been found in the south side of the village. This is the same area in which there have been reports of people mysteriously disappearing. I think a closer inspection of the area is warranted. The fact that they leave these distinctive knives as a sign of their presence concerns me. They're growing more bold and seem to no longer fear discovery of their hideout. June 27, 1987. The latest measurements indicate that the recent trend has continued. The movement of the islands has slowed tremendously. My previous estimates predicted a total collapse in approximately 3 months, but with the new figures I'm uncertain. I've nearly finished writing the 234th age, and I have every faith that it will indeed be a safe place for us to relocate to. Yet it would be helpful to know what has caused the halt in this age's breakup. Is it possible that it's stable after all? If so, I must discover how this age differs from my less successful attempts. My examinations of the 233rd age have thus far proven inconclusive. Or perhaps someone is repairing the damage to the 5th age? If so, it would almost certainly be Atris's doing. I have reluctantly decided to abandon my experiments into the behavior of the water of this age, as there are more pressing matters on which I must now concentrate, leaving me little time for such speculative research. For future reference, however, my investigations up to this point have revealed the following. I believe the remarkable properties of the water to be caused by a life form that resides in it, specifically a type of bacteria. I'm imagining a motile unicellular organism, but one with structures capable of holding bits of water, whose combined effects, via surface tension, a stronger force, causes the composite body of water to move in response to heat. Prolonged exposure to extreme heat, for example, a period of extended boiling, seems to kill the bacteria, which would explain its dramatic aversion to heat sources. Unfortunately, these theories are still not fully tested, and I must remain ignorant both to its deeper nature and its possible uses. July 6, 1987. An exciting development. Last night, a squad of maintainers stumbled upon a lone rebel scout and obtained from him the most incredible device. It is a crystal that somehow powers these flawed linking books, much as my own system does, but with an obvious advantage. It is small and weighs only a few pounds, making it completely portable. Catherine must have fabricated the device before I captured her. Obviously, with an explicit dunny schematic she must have brought with her to this age. If only I had access to such a document all these years. Regardless, I can now concentrate solely on the writing of ages, and need no longer worry about building elaborate power supplies for each new book I write. This is a sobering reminder, however, that I must continue to seek an avenue to Denis. Regaining access to the resources there may be crucial for the completion of my mission. The end. Wow. Whew, this cursive. It's kind of hard to read sometimes. Wow, interesting stuff. So yeah, a lot of research notes in here, lots of, he spent 30 years here. My God. And he managed to find a way to power a linking book, and he's going to this this one, 233rd age. A little bit unstable, it sounds like, but I mean, he's out of Riven, so even if Riven collapses, he could still be okay. And from the way he was talking about Atris and Catherine both escaping, I guess he doesn't know that Catherine is here? How could he not know that after 30 years? Or, I guess Catherine hasn't been here 30 years, but he has. But, yeah, I'm surprised he doesn't know. Very interesting. He knows about the rebels, though. And he might be able to find their base soon. If he's figuring out all their clues and stuff. Yikes. So this number combination for the domes, that is very good to know. But it sounds like even if we get access to those domes, where the linking books are, to his 233rd age, it sounds like they're not even getting powered right now until we solve that fire marble puzzle. So that'll be good to do. What else we got? This must be from his the 233rd age. I really wish that thing had a name, because calling it 233rd age is kind of weird. It's got a big old satellite dish and I don't know, a volcano? What is this? I don't know. So he was going off old Denis schematics. That's why everything was 5 in this place. Because they really love 5, I guess. A little bit more beautiful and stable, I guess. But not really, because it's breaking apart. I like how Gehn is just so... He's so cocky, man. Everything in this journal is just like, I'm so proud of my achievements. Nothing I do is wrong. It's all other people's fault. If I had better schematics to go off of, we wouldn't have this problem. I don't know. He's just such a punk, man. And he might be underestimating people, because that one of the workers or whatever was reading through this journal. He's like, oh, good thing they couldn't read my language. Why the heck would he be looking in your journal if he couldn't read it? He might be underestimating some people too. Cool. Well, anyway, that's it. That's it for that. Wow. That's going to be an editing nightmare. I had a lot of trouble reading some of this cursive. Whew. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See you later.